Zane was quiet. He never talked much. He walked with his head down, his bag always half open, his shoes worn out, and his face calm, like someone hiding a storm inside. That Monday morning, he walked into the school wearing something different. It wasn't new. It wasn't stylish. It was an old military jacket, faded green, dusty sleeves, a few small cuts, and a strange patch on the right arm. The students stared. Some laughed. One boy whispered, "Is he trying to look like a soldier or something?" Another girl giggled. "Maybe he got it from a garbage bin." But Zane didn't respond. He walked slowly to his desk, sat down, and touched the patch gently with his fingers. He kept staring at it, like it had a secret, like it was more than just cloth. That's when Liam entered the class. Liam was loud, popular. Everyone followed. Him. His clothes were always new, his phone always shiny, and his voice filled every room. He looked at Zane's jacket and laughed. "Wow, where'd you get that? Your grandfather's closet?" The class laughed. Even the teacher smiled a little, but Zane didn't move. He looked up at Liam just for a second, then looked away. Liam wasn't used to being ignored. He walked over, stood next to Zane, and said louder, "Do you even know what that patch means? Or did you just think it looks cool?" Zane finally spoke, but his voice was soft. "It's my father's jacket." The class went quiet for a second. Liam raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I see. So your dad was in the army?" Zane nodded. Liam smirked. "Well, looks like he gave you the jacket but forgot to give you the courage." Everyone laughed again. Zane didn't. He just turned the sleeve and looked at the patch again. It was small but different. Not a normal army logo, not a name. Just a symbol, black wings, and a lightning bolt across them. No one knew what it meant. That afternoon, something unusual happened at school. A man in uniform entered the building. Not just any man. A retired general, General Raymond, known for his years of service and discipline. He had been invited to speak to the students about leadership and bravery. The auditorium was full. The students clapped, cheered, and sat quietly as the general spoke. He talked about war, about sacrifice, about honor. And then, during the Q&A, he pointed to the students and said, "I'd like to meet one of you. You, young man in the green jacket, stand up." It was Zane. Everyone turned. Even Liam looked surprised. Zane stood up slowly. The general stared at him. No smile, no movement. Just silence. Then the general walked down from the stage, came close to Zane, and stared at the patch on his arm. His face changed. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, hands trembling. He didn't speak. Not for a few long seconds. Then, almost in a whisper, he asked, "Where did you get this jacket?" Zane looked at him and replied, "It was my father's, sir. He gave it to me. Before he disappeared." The general took a step back. "Disappeared?" he repeated. Zane nodded. The general's voice turned serious. "What's your father's name?" Zane answered quietly. "Captain Rehan Malik." The general stared at him. He didn't say a word. He turned around and left the auditorium. Fast. The room was full of whispers now. Students looked at each other. Teachers looked confused. Liam sat still, his smile gone. What just happened? After school, Zane walked out alone. He didn't speak to anyone. He didn't explain. Liam followed him for a few steps. "Hey, what was that about? Why did the general act so weird?" Zane didn't reply. Liam continued. "You said your dad disappeared? Like, gone missing?" Zane stopped, turned his head slowly. "Yes," he said. 10 years ago. Army said he died on a mission. But no body, no answers. Just silence." Liam swallowed hard. "Sorry, man. I didn't know." Zane looked away. "No one knows," he said, walking off. Liam stood there, watching him walk into the distance, jacket swaying in the wind, patch shining under the sunlight. That night, Zane sat on his bed. He took off the jacket and placed it on his lap. He touched the patch again. "Why did the general freeze?" he whispered. "What's this patch hiding?" He turned the sleeve inside out, checked the buttons, the pockets, and then he found something strange, a small stitch, different thread. He carefully opened the stitch, and inside, a tiny folded paper. He pulled it out. It was a black and white photo, a group of soldiers standing in front of a helicopter, all wearing the same patch. And one of them was his father. On the back of the photo, a line was written, "If they see the patch, they'll know I'm still alive." Zane's hands shook. His eyes filled with tears. Zane didn't sleep much that night. The photo, the message, the general's face. Everything kept playing in his mind like a movie. He kept reading the words on the back of the photo. "If they see the patch, they'll know I'm still alive." Was it real? Could his father, Captain Rehan Malik, still be alive? After 10 years? Zane didn't have the answers. But he knew one thing. The patch on that jacket was not normal. And General Rayman knew something. Something big. The next morning, Zane walked into school quietly like always. But this time, everyone was looking at him. Not with jokes, not with laughter, but with curiosity and fear. Liam didn't say a word. He just stared at Zane like he wanted to ask something but didn't dare. Even the teacher gave Zane a strange look, half respect, half confusion. Lunch, the principal's assistant came to the classroom and said, "Zayn Malik, please come with me." Zane stood up. His hands felt cold. His heart started beating faster. He followed her down the hall. Every step felt heavier, like something big was waiting for him. When he entered the principal's office, he froze. General Raymond was there, sitting quietly. A brown folder was on the table. His face was serious. Not angry, not friendly, just focused. The principal nodded to Zane and left the room. Now it was just the two of them. "Sit down, son," the general said. Zane sat slowly. General didn't speak for a few seconds. He just looked at the patch on the jacket again. Then finally he asked, "Are you sure this jacket belonged to your father?" Zane nodded. "He gave it to me before his last mission. I was 7 years old." The general opened the folder. There were papers, old photos, and something that looked like a report. "Your father was one of the bravest men I ever served with," the general said. "But he didn't just work in the army. He was part of a special unit." Zane leaned forward. "What kind of unit?" The general looked up. "A unit so secret, most people in the army didn't even know about it. They did missions no one talked about. Missions that never made the news. Missions that could get you killed even if you completed them." Zane swallowed hard. "And this patch? It's from that unit?" The general nodded. "Yes. That patch represents Shadow Unit 9. It doesn't exist on paper. No records, no files, nothing online. But they were real, and your father was part of it." Zane felt like the air had left the room. His hands started shaking. "But if it was so secret, how do you know about it?" he asked. The general looked away. "I helped train them, but I wasn't cleared for all their missions. One day they just disappeared. Your father included." Zane pulled the photo from his pocket and handed it to the general. The general took it and froze. His fingers tightened. His eyes looked at every face in the photo. He whispered, "This was taken in Dara Valley. That was their last known location." Then he flipped the photo. When he saw the message written on the back, his face turned pale. "If they see the patch, they'll know I'm still alive." The general stood up slowly and walked to the window. He didn't speak for a full minute. Then he said, "This message, it's not just words, it's a code." Zane's eyes widened. "A code?" The general nodded. Shadow Unit 9 had a rule. If captured, they weren't allowed to send rescue signals. It would be too risky. But if one of them returned, or if someone wore the patch, they could send a message through that symbol, a silent call for help. Zane stood up. "So, he's alive?" The general turned around. "I don't know, but this message means he tried to tell someone. Maybe he escaped. Maybe he sent this jacket back for a reason." Zane felt like crying, but he held it in. "Why didn't anyone ever look for him?" he asked, voice low. The general sat back down. "Because the mission was erased. Someone high up didn't want Shadow Unit 9 to be found. Their mission was politically dangerous. If the truth came out, powerful people would fall." Zane stared at the floor. "They said he died," he whispered. The general nodded. "They lied." Suddenly, the general's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face turned serious. He picked up the call. "Yes?" A pause. Then, "Who?" Another pause. Then he stood up, fast. "I'll be right there." He hung up and looked at Zane. "I have to go." "But wait," Zane said. "What do I do now?" The general looked at him carefully. "Keep the jacket close. Don't talk to anyone about this. And if someone asks about the patch, don't answer, just call me." He handed Zane a card. Only a number was written on it. No name. Before leaving, he said one last thing. "If someone else saw that patch, they may come looking for you. Not to help, but to silence." Then he walked out the door. Zane sat there for a long time. His heart was pounding. What was happening? What had his father gotten involved in? Was someone watching him now? He walked back to class slowly. Liam saw him from a distance but didn't say anything. That evening, Zane sat in his room again. He took off the jacket, laid it on the bed, and stared at it. Now he understood. It wasn't just clothing. It was a signal. A key to something bigger than he ever imagined. But what came next, he wasn't ready for. Zane couldn't think about anything else. The jacket, the patch, the secret unit. Every sound around him felt louder. Every shadow felt deeper. And for the first time in his life, he was afraid of what he might discover. That night, he sat at his desk, the jacket spread in front of him. He kept looking at the symbol, the black wings, the lightning bolt. So simple, yet so dangerous. The general's warning echoed in his head. If someone else saw that patch, they may come looking for you, not to help, but to silence. The next morning, Zane's mother called him for breakfast. He walked into the kitchen, eyes heavy from a sleepless night. His mother looked at him. "You didn't sleep well," she said gently. Zane nodded. She placed toast in front of him and sat down. Then, very quietly, she asked, "Why are you wearing your father's jacket these days?" Zane looked up. "I found something in it," he said carefully. His mother paused. Her hands froze over her teacup. "What did you find?" Zane reached into his pocket and pulled out the photo. He placed it on the table. Her eyes widened the moment she saw it. Tears filled her eyes. Where did you get this?" she whispered. "It was hidden inside the jacket," he replied. She picked it up with shaking fingers. "I remember this," she said. "Your father gave it to me the night before he left. He told me, if anything ever happened, one day this photo would explain everything." Zane leaned forward. "Why didn't you ever show it to anyone?" She looked at him with pain in her eyes. "Because I was told not to. A man came to our house after the army said your father was gone. He warned me not to speak to anyone about his mission. He said people could get hurt." Zane's chest felt tight. He whispered, Do you still remember that man's name? His mother shook her head. No, but I remember his eyes, cold, empty, like someone who had done terrible things. That. Same day, Zane stayed behind after school. He walked to the old library on the edge of campus. It was quiet, dusty, and rarely used. He pulled out the general's card from his pocket, dialed the number, and waited. Raymond, the voice answered. Zane spoke quickly. I need your help. My mother knew about the photo. She said someone warned her years ago. I think someone's still watching us. The general was silent for a moment. Then he said, Where are you right now? At the school library? Stay there. I'm sending someone I trust. 20 minutes later, a man in his mid-30s entered the library. He wore simple clothes, but his eyes were sharp. He walked up to Zane and said, You must be the boy with the jacket. Zane nodded. The man sat across from him and placed a small black bag on the table. He opened it, pulled out a tablet, and typed something. I'm Agent Nabil. General Rayman asked me to show you something. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Zane leaned in. Agent Nabil turned the screen. A file opened up. Classified. Shadow Unit 9. Status: terminated members, 12. Missing, 4. Presumed alive, 1. Captain Rehan Malik. Zane's heart skipped a beat. There it was, his father's name, right in front of him. Agent Nabil spoke softly. This unit was sent on a mission 10 years ago. Operation Black Echo. Deep enemy territory. Political risk. No backup. No extraction plan. Zane interrupted. Why? Because someone wanted them to disappear, Nabil replied. Zane's hands clenched. You mean someone from our own country? Nabil nodded. We don't know who, but someone high up. The mission was never meant to succeed. It was a cover-up. They were sacrificed. Zane felt sick. My father, he didn't die on that mission, did he? We don't think so, Nabil said. The photo you found? It wasn't random. It was proof. Your father left it for you to find. He knew you would one day wear the jacket. Zane looked down. I need to find him. Nabil stared at him. That's not so easy. But maybe he left more clues. Zane pulled out the jacket again. Agent Nabil examined it carefully. Then he stopped. What's this? He said, pointing to a seam inside the collar. He gently pulled at the stitching, and out came a tiny chip, no bigger than a fingernail. He placed it in a small reader. The tablet screen blinked, then a video started to play. Zane leaned forward. His hands trembled, and then he saw the face. It was his father, bruised, tired, but alive. Zane, the video began. If you're watching this, it means they didn't find the jacket. Good. Zane gasped. The voice, the eyes. It was real. I'm somewhere in the north border, captured, escaped, hiding. I don't know who to trust. But if the patch is seen by someone like General Raymond, they'll come for me. Zane whispered. He's alive. He's really alive. The video continued. Don't try to find me alone, you're just a kid. But if you work with the right people, they'll guide you. One day, we'll meet again, I promise. The screen turned black. Zane wiped his eyes. Agent Nabil closed the tablet. Now you know. But just then, glass shattered, a window broke. Smoke canister flew into the room. Zane and Nabil coughed, eyes burning. Voices shouted from outside. Grab the boy! Nabil jumped up, pulled Zane down behind a shelf. They found us, he said. Run, Zane! Zane followed him as they ran. Through the back exit of the library, sirens, footsteps, yelling. Zane's world had changed forever, and now he was running for his life. Smoke filled the library. Zane's lungs burned. His eyes watered. He could barely see anything. Behind him, Footsteps pounded on the floor. Voices shouted, "He's here! Don't let him escape!" Agent Nabil grabbed Zane's arm. "This way!" he yelled, pulling him through the side door. They ran through a narrow hallway behind the library. Old books and broken furniture lined the walls. Zane's heart was beating so loud he could barely hear anything else. He didn't ask questions. He just ran. Outside, Nabil pushed Zane behind a trash bin. He checked around quickly, then whispered, "They moved fast, faster than expected." "Who were they?" Zane asked, still coughing. Nabil looked him in the eye. "People who don't want you to know the truth. People connected to the ones who sent your father to disappear." Zane's head spun. All of this felt too big for him. "I'm just a school kid," he said. "Why are they after me?" Nabil answered without blinking. "Because you're not just any kid. You're the son of a man they couldn't silence. And now, you're carrying his secret." Zane sat there quietly, then whispered, "I won't stop." Nabil nodded. "Good, because we're just getting started." They moved quickly through the back streets, staying away from open roads. Nabil led Zane to an old building near the edge of the city. It looked like an abandoned workshop, but inside, it was something else: security cameras, metal doors, screens with maps and blinking red dots. Zane stared in shock. "Where are we?" "My safe house," Nabil said. "Only a few people know about this place." He handed Zane a bottle of water and sat down at a screen. "The men who attacked us, they're part of a group called Black Mist." Zane narrowed his eyes. "What is Black Mist?" Nabil replied. "A private military group. Not official, not legal. They work in the shadows for the highest bidder. The government doesn't control them anymore." Zane thought for a second. "So, they were the ones who destroyed Shadow Unit 9. "Exactly," Nabil said. "They were sent to clean up after the mission. But your father didn't die. He escaped. That's why they want you silenced." Zane looked down at the patch on the jacket. "Then I have to find him before they do." Later that night, Zane sat alone in a corner of the safe house. He took out the photo again. He stared at his father's face, his tired smile, his brave eyes. Suddenly, he noticed something new. In the background of the photo, a small, strange mountain. He showed it to Nabil. "Do you know where this is?" Nabil looked at it closely. "That mountain, I've seen it before. It's near the northern border, near a place called Falcon Ridge." Zane stood up. "That's where he is. That's where I need to go." Nabil shook his head. "It's not that easy. Black Mist watches the border. We can't just walk in." Zane didn't move. "Then help me find a way." The next day, they prepared. Nabil gave Zane a small communication device. "If we get separated, press this button. It'll send me your location." He also gave him a tracker hidden inside a pen. "Keep it with you. If they catch you, this might be our only way to find you." Then they left the safe house at night. Dark streets, quiet footsteps. They avoided cameras, stayed in shadows. Zane didn't feel like a kid anymore. He felt like someone who had seen too much and had no choice but to keep going. By morning, they reached the edge of the city. A truck waited for them, an old delivery vehicle used for food supplies. They climbed inside the back, hiding behind boxes. As the truck moved forward, Zane closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered his father's voice from the video. "If you work with the right people, they'll guide you." Was Nabil the right person? Zane didn't know, but for now, it was all he had. But halfway through the journey, something went wrong. The truck suddenly stopped. Voices outside. Rough, angry. Nabil peeked through a hole. "Checkpoint," he whispered. Black Mist again. Zane's heart pounded. Nabil quietly pulled out a small bag. "If they open the door, run. Head east. Look for the red rock hill. Hide behind it. I'll find you." Zane nodded. Suddenly, bang! The back door of the truck swung open. A flashlight shined inside. Zane held his breath. A voice shouted, "Who's in there?" Nabil stood up slowly, hands in the air. "Just food delivery," he said calmly. The soldier stepped forward. And then he saw the boy behind. "The boxes! Hey! There's someone!" Before he could finish, Nabil moved fast. In one motion, he pushed the soldier back and yelled to Zane, "Run!" Zane jumped out the back of the truck and hit the ground hard. He got up and sprinted. Behind him, shouts, gunfire, chaos, but he kept running. Zane waited behind the red rock hill for hours. The sun went down. The desert became cold, and the silence was heavy. He hugged his knees, trying to stay warm. Every sound made him turn his head. Would Black Mist find him? Would Nabil come back? Just when he started to lose hope, he heard a soft whistle. Zane peeked over the rocks. A shadow moved quietly toward him. It was Nabil. "You made it," he whispered with relief. Zane stood up quickly. "You too. I thought they caught you." Nabil smiled. "Not that easy." They moved carefully through the dark hills, step by step, quiet, alert. "The photo," Zane said. "You said that mountain was near Falcon Ridge." Nabil nodded. "Just ahead. But getting there won't be easy. The whole area is watched." Zane touched the patch on his jacket. "Then we won't go through the front." Nabil gave him a look. "You have a plan?" "Not yet," Zane said. "But maybe my father did." The next morning, they reached an old military checkpoint. Abandoned, damaged, overgrown with weeds. "This place was used during the border war," Nabil explained. "No one comes here now." Zane walked slowly inside. Something about the place felt familiar. He didn't know why, but it pulled him in. He reached the center room. Dust everywhere, broken chairs, rusty doors, and then he saw it. A wall scratched, with lines, dozens of tiny marks. He looked closer. Between the lines, letters, Echo 3, follow the silence. "What does that mean?" Zane asked aloud. Nabil stepped beside him. "That was your father's code name, Echo 3. Zane stared at the words. "Follow the silence." Suddenly, he noticed the air vent on the wall. He walked toward it, removed the metal cover. Inside was a small notebook. They opened it together. It was full of maps, notes, and codes. Zane flipped through until he found something that made him stop. A hand-drawn map, marked with an X. Next to it, safe zone, hidden base, don't trust the light. Nabil took a sharp breath. That X is near the edge of the Falcon Ridge cliffs. "Then that's where we go," Zane said. They followed the map. It led them down old paths, through narrow rocks and dry trees. The place was silent, completely silent. No birds, no wind. Just dry air and the sound of footsteps. Zane's heart beat faster with every step. Then they found it. A small door, hidden behind a fallen rock. "Is this it?" Zane whispered. Nabil looked at the map again. "Yes, this is the base." They pulled the door open. A tunnel led inside, dark, cold, and deep. They turned on their flashlights and stepped in. Zane could feel the fear rising in his chest. Every step echoed. The tunnel was tight. The air was dry. Then, suddenly, it opened. Into a wide underground space, a room filled with old machines, papers, and military gear. Zane whispered, "This is where Shadow Unit 9 worked." Nabil walked over to a wall. Photos were pinned up. Maps, lists, faces. He froze. Zane walked over. "What is it?" Nabil pointed. It was a list. Shadow Unit 9, Echo 1. Major Hassan, Echo 2. Lieutenant Sarah. Echo 3, Captain Rehan Malik. Next to each name was a red mark, except one, Echo 3. Zane's father. He's the only one not marked, Zane said. That means he's the only one who escaped, Nabil confirmed. Suddenly, a beep. Nabil pulled out his tablet. His face turned. Serious. They found us. Zane's heart dropped. Black mist? Nabil nodded. They traced the notebook signal. We don't have much time. He looked around the room. There has to be another exit. Help me search. They moved fast. Zane searched behind shelves and walls. Then he noticed something. A crack in the back wall. A metal door behind old boxes. Here! He shouted. Nabil rushed over. They pulled. The door opened, and a narrow stairway led up. Without wasting time, they ran through. Behind them, they heard the sound of boots, shouting, guns. They reached the top. Another door, heavy and rusted. Nabil pushed it open, and they stepped out into daylight. They were high on a cliff. Wind blew through Zane's hair. Below them, the wild, rocky valley. Behind them, gunfire started inside the tunnel. They're inside, Nabil said. We have to move, now. Zane nodded. But before they left, he turned back one last time. That hidden base. That place told him the truth. His father wasn't just missing, he was fighting, and now, so was Zane. Zane and Nabil climbed down the rocky cliff. Below them, the valley stretched wide and silent. Behind them, smoke started rising from the secret base. Black mist had found it. But they were too late. Zane had already learned the truth. His father survived. And he had left behind something important. Now, it was up to Zane to follow his trail, all the way to the end. They walked for hours through the mountains. No signs, no paths, just wild rocks and sharp winds. Zane felt tired, but he didn't stop. Not now. Not when he was so close. I still don't understand, Zane said. If my dad escaped, why didn't he come home? Nabil paused. Sometimes people hide not to stay safe. They hide to protect others. Zane looked down at his jacket. He touched the patch gently. Shadow Unit 9, Echo 3. His father had been hunted, just like Zane was now. They reached a small cave by sunset. It looked empty from the outside, but something told Zane to look inside. He took a step in. The air was cool and still. Then he saw something strange. Painted on the wall was a symbol, a circle with 3 arrows, and next to it, scratched in rock, "If you're reading this, you're my son." Zane froze. His breath caught in his throat. Nabil stepped in behind him and stopped. His eyes widened. Zane touched the wall with his fingertips. He was here. They found a box hidden behind a loose stone. Inside, a small recorder and another hand-drawn map. Zane picked up the recorder and pressed play. A familiar voice spoke. Zane, if this message finds you, then I didn't make it back. Or maybe I chose not to. Zane's eyes filled with tears. His father's voice continued. They betrayed us. Shadow Unit 9 was set up. We were sent into a trap. Only I escaped. I knew if I went home, they'd follow me. You, your mother, would never be safe. Zane sat down slowly. The recorder kept playing, so I stayed hidden, watching, waiting, collecting proof. One day, someone would need to finish what I started. If it's you, be brave, but be smart. Don't fight with anger. Fight with truth. And remember, son, I never stopped loving you. The recorder clicked off. Silence filled the cave. Zane wiped his eyes. I'm going to finish it, he said softly. No matter what. The next map led them deeper into the mountains. It pointed to a tower, an old radio signal post, high on a cliff. If we can get there, Nabil said, maybe we can send a message, share the proof. But what proof? Zane asked. Nabil showed him a small chip he had taken from the secret base. Your dad saved it. Hidden in the wall. It has everything. Video files, documents, names. Zane's eyes lit up. This could end Black Mist. But they weren't alone. From a hilltop far behind, a scope focused on them. A Black Mist agent whispered into his radio. They found the message. They're heading to the tower. As night fell, Zane and Nabil reached the edge of the cliff. The radio tower stood tall, but broken. Metal hanging. Wires cut. Stairs rusty. We'll need to climb carefully, Nabil said. Zane nodded. Halfway up, the wind picked up. The metal groaned. One wrong step could mean the end. But Zane kept going. He reached the top. Nabil joined him. They connected the chip to the old system. A green light blinked. It's working, Nabil said. Signal's weak, but we can send the files. Zane smiled for the first time in days. Suddenly, gunshots. Zane ducked. Nabil pushed him down. They're here. A bullet hit the metal pole near Zane's head. Black Mist agents were climbing fast. We need more time, Zane shouted. Nabil fought back, returning fire with a small pistol. Zane looked at the screen. 95% uploaded. Almost there. Then, boom! An explosion rocked the lower stairs. Smoke covered the base of the tower, but the screen turned green. Upload complete. Zane smiled. It's out. The world will know. Nabil grabbed his arm. Now we jump. What? Nabil pointed. Jump to the next cliff. It's the only way. Zane hesitated, then ran and jumped. He landed hard, but safe. Nabil followed. Behind them, the tower started to collapse. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was sent. The message was out, and there was no going back. The tower was gone. The dust still floated in the air. Zane and Nabil lay behind the rocks, catching their breath. We did it, Zane whispered. His hands were shaking. He had just risked his life. But it was worth it. The files were sent, and the truth was finally out. By morning, everything had changed. The video spread across the world. News channels picked it up. Reporters repeated the same words. Secret military unit betrayed. Proof of government lies. Captain Rehan Malik risked everything to expose the truth. Photos of Shadow Unit 9 appeared on every screen, and one name stood out. Echo 3. Rehan Malik. Zane's father. People demanded answers. Protests began. The public wanted to know who covered it up. Where is the rest of the team? Why did no one say anything for years? And most important, who is the boy who shared the files? Zane and Nabil hid in an old safe house far from the mountains. They watched everything on a small TV. Zane stared in silence. His father's name was finally clear. The world knew he was not a traitor. He was a hero, but that didn't mean they were safe. At the same time, in a dark office, a man in a suit threw a file across the room. He ruined everything, he growled. A woman beside him replied coldly, "The boy is still out there. We can find him." The man leaned forward. Find him before the people do. Back at the safe house, Nabil turned to Zane. They'll come after us, he said. You know that, right? Zane nodded, but this time, the world is watching. Later that night, someone knocked on the door. Zane froze. Nabil grabbed his weapon. They moved slowly to the door. Another knock. Who is it? Nabil asked. A voice replied, I knew your father, and I promised to protect his son. Zane's eyes widened. He opened the door slowly. An older man stood outside. Gray hair, sharp eyes, and on his jacket, the same patch Zane wore. Shadow Unit 9. Zane stepped back in shock. You were one of them? The man nodded. Echo 5. We all thought your father was gone. but he never stopped fighting. Zane's voice shook. Why didn't you help him? I tried, the man said. But black mist was everywhere. They erased us. He looked directly at Zane. But now, because of you, we can come back. Zane looked at Nabil, then at the stranger. You said you promised my dad. How do I know? You're telling the truth? The man slowly pulled out something from his coat. A letter, sealed with a symbol, Shadow Unit 9's mark. Zane opened it. Inside, written in his father's handwriting. If you're reading this, I knew you would make it, Zane. I'm proud of you. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. The mission lives in you now. Tears filled Zane's eyes. He folded the letter and looked at the man. What happens now? The man answered, softly. Now, we take down Black Mist. Zane stood on the rooftop of an old city building. The night wind blew through his hair. Far below, the streets were filled with noise, people marching, people chanting, holding signs with one name, Rayhan Malik, Zane's father. Beside Zane stood the old soldier, Echo 5, and Nabil, tired but proud. Zane looked out across the city. Everything had changed, from a boy mocked for his old jacket to the voice that exposed a government lie. But it had come at a cost. His father was gone. Shadow Unit 9 was destroyed, and Black Mist still had power. But Zane was no longer hiding. He had become something more. They returned to the safe house that night. Inside, the old soldier showed Zane a new map. These are Black Mist's main bases, he explained. Hidden around the country. If we can reach just one, we can bring down the rest. Zane leaned over the map. This was never just about my dad, he said. This is about every name they tried to erase. He pointed to one location. Let's start here. The next few weeks were a blur. Zane trained harder than ever. Nabil taught him how to move like a ghost. Echo 5 showed him how to think like a soldier. Each day they grew closer. Each night they planned their next step. But danger was always close. One evening, a news anchor appeared on TV. A young man is becoming a symbol across the nation. Zane Malik, son of fallen hero Captain Rayhan Malik, continues to speak out. But officials still deny the truth, and someone wants him silenced. Zane turned off the screen. They're afraid, Nabil said. Zane replied, Good, let them be. Finally, it was time. Their small team stood outside the first Black Mist outpost. Hidden inside a fake security company, Zane wore his jacket. Clean now. Repaired, but still with the patch. The same patch the soldier once mocked. Now it carried power. Are you ready? Nabil asked. Zane took a deep breath. My father walked into a trap for the truth. I'm walking into fire to finish it. They moved fast. Inside, guards were caught off guard. Zane and the team used smoke and stealth. No one got hurt. In less than 10 minutes, they reached the control room. Echo 5 plugged in a drive. All files are copying. Zane looked around. Then, he saw something. A photo. Old. Faded. His father, standing with the Shadow Unit, smiling, strong, alive, and taped to the photo, a note in the same handwriting. One day, my son will wear this jacket with pride. Zane took the note and held it close. Outside, sirens wailed. Reinforcements were coming. Echo 5 handed Zane the drive. Go, I'll stay behind. No, Zane said. We finish this together. They ran through the smoke, dodging bullets, jumping fences, and just as the gate closed behind them, they escaped. That night, Zane uploaded everything, Black Mist's secrets, the real names, the dark missions, the cover-ups. This time, the whole world saw it. Black Mist fell. One by one, the powerful were arrested. The truth could not be hidden anymore. Months passed. Zayn stood on a stage, thousands of people in front of him. The world now knew the full story. Behind him was a giant photo, his father in uniform. A reporter stepped up. "Zayn, what would your father say today? If he were here?" Zayn took a breath. He'd probably smile, then say, "That's my son." The crowd clapped. Zayn looked out at them and spoke clearly. "We don't choose the battles we're born into, but we do choose how we fight. And today, I fight with truth, for justice, for my father, for every voice that was ignored." And as he stepped off the stage, one thing was clear. Zayn Malik was no longer just a boy in an old jacket. He was the voice of a new generation. He was the son who rose.